All right, thank you for joining my co-host and I, Dan Presley. Today we are talking about step 3 of the 5-step customer experience. And Dan, that is coverage explanation.
That's right, Hunter. We have a good one coming your way on these topics around step 3, around coverage. Couple of key points I think that we need to make getting into the conversation, Hunter. Number one, I think it's important to understand that everyone on your team should be able to consistently deliver this message. These coverage items and the way we break them down, I think it's so crucial that everyone is able to do this the same way.
Yeah, absolutely. Step 3 coverage explanation is one of the steps that definitely takes some practice. This is one that we typically give our team earlier on, and they have to role play it consistently. Yep. It is super important that they can do this basically in their sleep so that, again, they're focused more on the customer than what they're saying.
Exactly. I think it's so important to be able to, think about this in terms of quality control. I mean, one of the biggest issues that we see, Hunter, is that customers just don't understand what to expect from us or what their coverages are. And I think by creating that kind of system for your team in doing this, that's going to give you the quality control that you're looking for.
Yeah, the question that we end step 2 with is intentional. Has XYZ company, Dan, explained to you what to expect from them if you were to have a claim? And as I think about myself as a business owner, as many of you all are, or as a key team member within the office, whichever your role is, I think about we want to make sure that we deliver a consistent experience to all of our customers. We want them to understand what's going to happen if they do have a claim. And so this process has to be a consistent, simple, concise message that everyone on the team delivers the same way every time.
Absolutely. I think, we talk about data a lot in these calls and, how we're running your agency. And it's really a matter of having good data. And if we don't have a consistent process, we have no real comparable data at the end.
Yeah. So, if you think about that, as we are giving examples, all the examples are the same. The questions and the way we ask them are the same. So as a coach, you want to listen to your team and make sure you don't hear any one-off explanations happen. And one of the things I tell my team, if you haven't heard someone that's in a leadership role on our team say it, don't say it.
Exactly. And I think it's also important here, Hunter, to note that while we do give a lot of options and examples here in the customer experience and the coverage explanation piece, it's not a one-size-fits-all deal, right? You may have some coverages available in your state. We would love to say we know everything about all the states in which State Farm does business, but we don't. So you may have some coverages that are required or maybe slightly different. So I think it's really important that you brush up on those and kind of modify this to adjust.
Yeah, and not only is it not one-size-fits-all for you, it's also not one size fits all for the customer. Every customer has different needs. And so it is important that you tailor this conversation to that customer and don't give them analysis paralysis. So only talk about the things that are relevant to their situation that are going to be important to them.
Absolutely. The more detail you get into, the more confused that customer is going to become, and it's going to result in some serious issues when it comes to close. They're not going to be ready to make a decision. They're going to give you I need to think about it. And they're not going to be able to pull the trigger one way or another here.
Yeah, and again, simple is better. So the more you practice, the easier it is for you to simplify the complex, and that's what we want here. One last point that I want to make before we get into the role play is that step 3 coverage explanation is an extension of the fact finder. So we are trying to dive deeper into the logic before we get to step 4, which is presentation.
Yep, exactly. And I think it's important to note how we word some of these questions, not just the individual questions that we get into in the fact finding, but the follow-up questions. There's obviously some situations where we're going 3-4 questions deep into one particular example, and that's all very much by design. Our best closers, our best financial services folks ask these questions every single time and get the detail to really strengthen their presentation.
Absolutely. Well, Dan, you ready to get into it?
Let's dive in. Let's make it happen.
All right. So Dan is going to be the agent. I am going to be the customer, and we are going to get going. This is step 3, coverage explanation.
Exactly. And we're going to break it down full role play style. And then after that, we will break down some of the questions that I asked and why those questions are important as we work our way through. But let's go ahead and get through the whole deal, Hunter. And I'm going to pick up at that transition between step 2 and step 3.
Let's do it.
All right, Hunter. Has anyone at your current insurance company explained what to expect from them if you have a claim?
Dan, it's been a long time.
It's been a long time. I totally understand. Well, listen, Hunter, I want to make sure when you become our customer, you know exactly what to expect from us, exactly what's going to happen, exactly what you're covered for, and exactly what you're not covered for. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Perfect, Hunter. Well, the first part of your auto insurance is your liability coverage. It's going to be the most important part of your car insurance, and it's going to protect you in the event that you cause an accident in which another party is hurt. It's going to cover things like court costs, costs to defend you, medical bills, and things like pain and suffering or lost wages. That shows up as 3 numbers on your policy. Looks like right now with Progressive you have 100, 300, 100. So what that means is you have $100,000 in coverage in the event that you were to injure any one person, and that $100,000 from Progressive is going to pay things like their medical bills and court costs and anything to defend you. The second number is $300,000. That is the limit per accident. So if there's 3 people involved or 10 people involved, the max that Progressive will ever pay is $300,000. And the last number, $100,000, is for property damage. That's going to repair or replace any vehicles you hit, as well as anything else alongside the road, like a guardrail or a sign or a fence. Does that make sense?
It does.
Any questions about liability coverage?
You know, at the end of the day, I just want to make sure Christine and I have enough, Dan.
Okay, totally understand.
We'll take your advice on that.
Totally understand. Well, those same 3 numbers, Hunter, show up again on your policy in what's called uninsured or underinsured motorist coverage. That allows us, or your insurance company, it allows your insurance company to pay out in the event that someone injures you or damages your car, or Christina, or the kids, that either doesn't have insurance or their limits are too low. So for example, the state minimum of $30,000, it's not enough to pay for all of your medical bills, lost wages, pain and suffering, and all the things that go along with that. So here those numbers have to match the liability and uninsured. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Perfect. Now the next part of your coverage, Hunter, is what most people think of when they think of car insurance, and that's what's going to fix your car in an accident. So we divide that into 2 categories, 2 sections. The first one is called comprehensive. Comprehensive is going to be anything out of your control, not directly related to your driving. So if you were to hit a deer or another animal, a tree fall on your car, hailstorm, windshield cracks or breaks, fire, theft, vandalism, anything like that, you're going to have a deductible. The deductible is your responsibility in the claim. State Farm will pay everything else, or currently with Progressive, Progressive will pay everything else up to the value of your car itself. Okay. The next section to that is called collision. Collision is exactly what it sounds like. That's coverage if you collide with another vehicle or a stationary object, fence, road sign, guardrail, anything like that. You're going to have a deductible associated with that as well. You're going to pay that first. State Farm is going to take care of the rest up to the value of your car. Now, collision claims are considered at fault. Those are the ones that will affect your rates and cause you problems in the long run. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Perfect. Hunter, do you happen to know what your deductibles are right now through Progressive?
Yeah, I think they're $500.
$500. Do you feel any particular type of way about that? Comfortable paying $500 out of pocket if you were to hit a deer on the way home from work?
Yeah, I think I would be good with that. You know, if anything, I would think maybe a little higher deductible for us.
Perfect. If you're comfortable paying that, that's definitely a good choice. That'll keep your rate down month to month.
Okay.
And you'll only be using your insurance really when you need it. So we can certainly take a look at that option for you. Next coverage that we want to look at with you, Hunter, is called medical payments. What we like to do with medical payments is coordinate that to the benefits that you have through work. So over there at XYZ Company where you work, Hunter, do they provide you with group medical or health insurance?
Yes, we have health insurance through my company.
Through your company, okay. Yes. And do you happen to know your deductible on that plan?
I don't know exactly what my deductible is, but I know we have a higher deductible because we have a health savings account.
Perfect. You do have a health savings account as well. High deductible health savings. Perfect. And then in that health savings account, are you making contributions to that, or is your company, or how do they have that set up for you?
Yeah, so the way mine works is I make a contribution every year at the end of the year before tax time.
Okay. Sounds good. That's a nice tax deduction, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. I definitely enjoy all the tax breaks I can find.
Absolutely. So you're maxing out that HSA every single year?
We do.
Okay. Sounds good. And any supplemental health like AFLAC or any kind of emergency accident policy in place for you or for the kids?
No, I think they came and presented at our work one time, but I didn't enroll in it. And I think that was before maybe we even had our kids.
I gotcha. Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Any benefits that they provide to you at work, or maybe something that you own yourself or through your current car insurance company that would replace your income if you're hurt in a crash or out of work?
I guess if you mean like disability, I have short and long-term disability through my company.
Okay. Do you know how long your short-term lasts?
I think it's just 30 days.
30 days. Okay. And after the 30 days, it would go to the long-term?
I think so.
Do you know the details on that, like how long that would pay out or what the percentage is of your income?
I don't know how long. I think it's maybe 30 or 40% of my income.
Okay. All right, sounds good. And do you have any other benefits through like life insurance that you are provided through your company or that you own yourself outside of that?
Yeah, so I have life insurance through work.
Do you know about how much coverage you have through work?
I believe it's 2 times my income.
2 times your income. Roughly how much life insurance does that give you total?
I have about $150,000.
Okay. Sounds good. And if you were to change jobs, leave your job, do you know if you could take that benefit with you or opt into it, or have you discussed that with them?
You know, I don't know. No one's ever told me that one way or the other. I do know before I started XYZ company that I didn't have life insurance at my other job.
Okay.
And then I was able to get it, you know, when I started here.
Okay. Sounds good. And then as far as that life insurance goes, I know you mentioned it had been a while, at least on the disability or since you've looked at it, maybe even before you had kids. Have you updated beneficiaries and things like that on your accounts with HR?
No, I have not looked at my benefits lately.
Okay.
The only thing I looked at, I know last year was, you know, the stock market was kind of shaky, so I moved all my investments to fixed assets.
Okay. Do you still have any market exposure at all, or just the fixed?
I've been scared to change it back.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's definitely been up and down. I saw we had a nice little rally these past couple of days, but it's definitely choppy. For sure.
I try not to look at it. It really scares me.
Do you have an advisor or planner that you're working with on that stuff, or do you mostly self-direct?
No, I've been trying to do it myself. Honestly, I just haven't thought enough about it. And like I said, it just kind of scares me, so I stay away from it, I think.
Fair enough. Well, a couple other questions here, Hunter, as we're wrapping up the coverage on the auto insurance. Do you have AAA or some kind of emergency roadside on the vehicle, either through the manufacturer or elsewhere?
Yeah, we do have AAA.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you know roughly about how much you pay for that?
I think it was $180 for the year.
Okay, sounds good. And then last question, or last 2 questions, I guess. If you were to have a claim and your car was in the shop, obviously we know that times for parts and things like that are stretching out. Would you want us to provide you with a car to get to and from work or around town?
Yeah, I don't think I would need a car because I have another car that I could drive,
Okay.
But it's a stick shift, and
Gotcha.
Christina doesn't like driving stick shifts, and all the kids couldn't fit in there.
Fair
so
enough.
I think she would want a car
Okay.
to drive if she were to wreck her SUV.
Okay, sounds good. And then the last coverage we offer, Hunter, is an additional benefit. Sounds complicated, but it's really not. If you were to pass away in an auto accident or as the result of injuries in an auto accident, we'll leave your family $10,000 to cover funeral or final expenses. Pays out in addition to any of the life insurance you have or group benefits that you have. Doubles to $20 if you're wearing your seatbelt or properly restrained. Covers everyone in your vehicle, and that's typically very inexpensive to add, and we can include that for you as well.
Okay. All right, guys. So that is coverage explanation. So let's just take a step back. We did this when we went through step 2, and let's talk about the things that we did that we think we did perfect, and let's talk about some of the things that we could clean up. And that's the point of practice. That's what we like.
Yep.
We talked about that after we did step 2. One of the things I actually liked about the fact that we didn't deliver it perfectly was we also got to talk about a couple of things that we want to clean up. And I think that's the beauty of practice and having that type of mindset within your office. So Dan, anything that you thought about as you were going along that you might have said a little differently, or that you think you did really well?
Yeah, so a couple of things. I think this is just me personally. I tend to get longer-winded when it comes to the explanations. I tend to get into too much detail sometimes. So I could definitely see cleaning up the liability piece and maybe condensing that down even more and making that more concise and relating uninsured motorists in just a faster, probably more effective manner. As far as the questions go, I got a ton of information, and I hope if you were watching this along, you were starting to kind of pick up where I was going with those questions. So we uncovered a lot about medical payments, and I was asking questions about disability, about life insurance, about retirement, about the market, about advisors. You know, my brain in that section, even though I don't want to do it here, it's going to be part of my presentation, so don't feel like I'm glossing over all that, because I'm not. I'm noting it down and knowing where I'm going. But my presentation is going to include some element of, hey, let's sit down, let's review your benefits, let's talk about your financial plan, let us help you. You're not working with an advisor, you're struggling to self-direct, right? That's a layup for us on the financial planning side, and that's a customer we definitely need to have an appointment with.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree. You know, again, practice and learning to be your own best coach is a big deal. So I agree with Dan. on the liability side, clean it up just a little bit, maybe clear, concise examples, not quite as much detail. The good news for you all is in your toolkit, which you get with Evolve, which also we mail out to those of you all that are agents, we have the exact word tracks right within your toolkit. You could take a look at that and practice it with your team. So that was one thing that I noted. The only other thing that I would say is maybe a couple more questions tied to liability, maybe to uncover assets.
Yep.
What are we protecting? That is the logical time to ask the question about what is it that we're actually protecting with the $100,000 in liability that you have. And that's a good time to help someone self-discover if they maybe need more coverage like a liability umbrella or
Yep.
something like that before you get to step 4.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, so would you say then, Hunter, maybe a good follow-up question after liability is, all right, Hunter, so that's what you got with Progressive. I know you own the business. I know you've got, decent income coming in. You got nice vehicles, a nice home. Do you feel like that's enough if I sued you for everything you have?
I think asking someone how they feel about coverage is a great way to present it because the emotional side is what signs the check, right? You don't want to get to the logical side yet, so it's really about the emotion. Hunter, how do you feel about that coverage? Another really good question that I like is, how did you come up with that?
Yeah.
Again, we're trying to drive a wedge between them and the prior company and show that we are going to give quality advice and assure that if they do have a claim, they have made an educated decision on what's going to happen. And so, how did you come up with that $100,000 is a great question because we all know from doing this that the answer is somebody just threw a number at them and they said deal. No one gave them proper advice.
Yep.
It's the same with like homeowners coverage. How did you come up with your homeowners coverage?
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I would point out under liability.
And I think that helps us a lot in looking forward to presentation too. I mean, now we're just presenting what the customer is telling us that they need, what they've kind of self-discovered, which again is a big concept that we want to hit here.
Yeah. Well, the only other thing I would say that you could do when you're in medical payments, if someone does have a plan somewhere else, is you do want to find out the budget if they have that. So remember, M is the money part of form, and so we are trying to figure out their complete budget. Yep. Remember, if you compete against one budget, meaning you quote auto and they have auto and that's all you present, then you're going to win on budget, you're going to lose on budget. The more budget you have, the better off. So one of the budgets that Dan did uncover was AAA. He did ask that question.
Contributions to your HSA as well.
HSA was another one as well. So just a good point to note there is, as you're asking those questions about additional benefits like life insurance and other things like that, it's about how much are they contributing per month out of their budget to those plans as well.
Exactly. Yeah, you'd be surprised how many people have some sort of disability or life insurance in addition to their baseline at work, and it's just some astronomical cost that we've never seen before. So.
Yeah. Well, hey, everybody, thank you so much for joining us for Step 3 Coverage Explanation. Great job, Jan. We will see you all again next time.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.